Hello everyone! Today's compilation features some of the world's riskiest and most demanding jobs. Tune in to see the bravest professionals who work in the toughest conditions and deserve our admiration. Let's get it on. When someone says fishermen are lucky to have their job, they probably don't realize what commercial fishing really looks like. One of the oldest professions looks completely different today. They say that there's some romance to being out at sea, but sometimes it can be like this. Besides handling heavy equipment, fishermen have to get used to unpredictable weather changes. They also learn to deal with the regular storms. It's surprising that they don't get seasick in such conditions. Sometimes, fishermen have to deal with something totally unexpected. Take, for example, certain bays where pirates are still active, hijacking ships for ransom. This is why even ordinary fishermen must carefully prepare for such assaults and think about safeguarding their boats and crew. Not every diver gets to swim in crystal clear waters, enjoying the sights of fish and corals. Professional sewer divers can only dream about this.
It's the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Every now and then they install equipment in the sewer that needs upkeep and fixing. Sadly, this is the only way to reach them. I know what you're thinking about, and no, divers claim that they can't smell a thing because of their suits. The challenge of their work comes from having to walk instead of swim, and when they're underwater, it's pitch black. They can't see a thing. They have to follow radio guidance in absolute darkness. But think about how thrilled they must feel when they finally emerge into the light and take off that cumbersome suit. For anyone scared of heights, this job should be the #1 no-go. Tower climbers have an important job to do. Take these guys, for example. They can improve the quality of cell service and radio signals. To check the state of towers in different parts, they have to climb really high. One of the tallest towers, standing at 609 meters high, also gets serviced this way. It might look thrilling and beautiful, but when you realize how high up this guy is, the views would be the last thing on your mind. Even though the worker follows safety protocols, what really matters in his line of work is having nerves of steel. Setting up oil rigs comes with its fair share of hurdles for the workers. They handle heavy loads and delicate equipment with extreme care, all while ensuring pinpoint accuracy. It's a job that demands constant effort and absolute precision with no room for error. But when it all wraps up, workers can finally breathe easy and take pride in their hard work paying off. Look at how closely they watch the lowering of the oil rig. Being an underwater welder isn't just tough, it's a whole different thing compared to regular welding. They don't just need to be qualified, they have to adapt to some really unusual working conditions, like handling pressure and temperature changes like it's no big deal. And moving around in those heavy diving suits, that's a whole workout on its own. Welders can sometimes get sidetracked by marine life, and working in murky water can really slow them down. Some even say that they weld with their eyes shut to save energy from straining to see. It takes real skill to work by touch, especially in those conditions. Lots of boys dream about becoming pilots when they grow up. Sure, being a pilot looks really cool, but it takes years of training and hard work, and there are always risks involved.
Slow down, not abruptly. Slow down, slow down, slow down.
Imagine the responsibility a pilot takes on every time they sit in the cockpit. Some pilots decide to join the military and start flying fighter jets. They need to master a completely different kind of aircraft, but if they succeed, they get the chance to perform thrilling aerial stunts. A lot of people who've been in an ambulance thank the doctors, but they often forget about the driver, who played a crucial role in saving their life. The driver's main job is to make sure the doctors get to the scene on time. They need to navigate quickly and make decisions that impact the doctor's ability to do their job. Sometimes every second counts. It's hard to imagine the stress the driver is under in those moments. It's a huge responsibility that not everyone's willing to take on. But ambulance drivers aren't the only ones who will save lives. For instance, some bus drivers in Bolivia regularly travel on the infamous Death Road. This path is known as one of the most dangerous in the world. It's an extremely narrow, winding road perched on the edge of a cliff, often washed out by rain. Driving on it turns into an incredibly risky adventure every time. There's a road like that in Peru, and although it's paved, it's still dangerous because of the sharp bends. Driving a bus is a huge responsibility, but if you're on a road like that, you need to be a real pro. Some climbers are so passionate about heights that they intentionally choose careers with that thrill. One interesting option could be servicing wind turbines. Yes, scaling those heights requires rock climbing skills, but on top of that, the pros naturally need to know their way around intricate machinery and equipment. Doing repairs up high, especially dealing with electricity, is obviously risky, especially when the weather starts acting up like this. That's why it's crucial to follow all safety precautions. Working on wind turbines is no walk in the park, but rumor has it the views up there are breathtaking, and the air is as fresh as it gets. Crane operator is yet another job not great for those with a fear of heights. Every day, these guys climb to great heights to operate cranes that move heavy loads. Construction sites in general are risky places with many hazards. Now, imagine all the risks a person faces when they're in the crane cabin at bird's eye height. Every move they make counts because the safety of everyone on the construction site hangs on the crane's movements. Being up that high, crane operators feel the full force of whatever the weather decides to dish out. And when things get tough, there's nowhere for them to hide. No wonder they retire earlier from this job than many others. Crane operators sure deserve an early retirement. To prevent volcanic eruptions from catching people off guard, they should be studied. That's what volcanologists do. They often have to go to volcanoes, especially active ones. Besides the obvious danger of eruptions, volcanologists need to be ready for hot flows, gases, and even collapses. This job requires serious focus. Sometimes you gotta scoop up a sample of scorching lava reaching temperatures of 1200 degrees. You definitely don't want to slip up and step on it or get any on your boots. Good thing these guys get it. They're fully aware of the risks and totally rock at their job. Being a firefighter is more of a calling than just a job, as they constantly have to confront the destructive force of fire. Firefighters undergo regular training because battling flames is incredibly challenging, especially when the fire spirals out of control. They're constantly surrounded by fire. Despite their protective gear, firefighters still feel incredibly hot. On top of that, they lug around heavy gear, and sometimes they have to carry people out of blazing buildings right in their arms. It's a job where you have to be prepared to take risks every single day, but as long as you stick to safety procedures, it's simple to stay in one piece and save a life. If you're into racing, you've probably imagined yourself behind the wheel at least once. But being a racer is way riskier than it seems. It's not just about being a good driver. You've got to push the car to its limits and have the skill to handle it, especially when it starts drifting on turns. And you've got to stay alert because one wrong twist of the wheel could spell disaster. Anyway, for the sake of thrill and adrenaline rush, racers take risks and receive rewards. And it's not always about medals, it's also about affection and appreciation from racing fans. The drilling crews have one of the most challenging tasks in the oil and gas industry. These guys work hard on the oil rigs, operating heavy drilling equipment. Getting into this profession requires more than just interest. You need to be physically strong, resilient, and attentive. It's equally important to stay vigilant because working in high-risk conditions means not only following safety procedures, but also being able to deal with unexpected challenges. These guys have it rough. This job isn't just tough, it's also not for the squeamish. While you were enjoying the perks of modern tech powered by electricity, some folks are out there dealing with the risky side of that power source up close. Linemen are always taking risks. Just getting to the job site is an adventure in itself, and then being up there at such heights. Imagine being so close to alternating current. Even though workers are provided with personal protective equipment, they still have to deal with unexpected surprises. He's amazed, but anyone else with a different job would be scared. People often say that being in the woods is calming, but not if you're working as an arborist. These guys do something super important. They take care of trees and make sure they're all good. There's just one catch though. Sometimes you gotta climb up high. Otherwise, there's simply no way to trim those extra branches or the top. They have to not only cut off the unnecessary stuff while holding onto the tree trunk, but also do it in a way that keeps the other workers down below safe. Just look at that guy. He didn't hesitate to climb a 30-meter palm tree, wasn't afraid it might break, and almost launched himself with a catapult. Who would have thought getting back to nature could be this extreme? It seems like teenage mischief, but some towers actually get demolished in this weird way. Sometimes, old factories accumulate substances that make it risky to use explosives. That's why they bring down towers like chopping down trees. Surprisingly, this method is considered relatively safe, although it doesn't look like it from the outside. Workers need to be not only strong but also very alert. Once the tower starts falling, it's best to get as far away from it as possible. So, being able to run fast is a useful skill in this kind of job. It's no secret that mountain climbing is no walk in the park. Yet, not everyone realizes just how dangerous it can be. Mountain climbing is all about overcoming obstacles, but these challenges are certainly not for the faint-hearted. Climbing's tough. You've got to trek up the mountain for hours, battling harsh weather conditions.
He's climbing, he's falling.
Got it. Got you. I still got you.
And as you climb higher, oxygen levels drop lower. Climbing heights and crossing chasms involves the risk of falling. But if you follow safety guidelines and use the proper gear, there's nothing to worry about.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Knowing about all of these challenges, you can easily imagine the awe climbers feel when they finally reach the summit. Being a miner is one of the toughest and riskiest jobs on the planet. Imagine this. You gotta do a ton of physical work while being underground. These guys don't see sunlight for hours on end. Those poor guys are in constant danger during their workday. The mines could be full of harmful gases, and there's always dust in the air. They have to wear special gear to stay safe too. Also, every now and then, the workplace can get a bit cramped. So if you're claustrophobic, this line of work might not be the right fit for you. People often dream about living in a skyscraper, enjoying the city views and beautiful sunsets through huge windows. But those windows need to be crystal clear. Cleaning windows at great heights is not easy, which is why there's a whole profession dedicated to it. These guys can't be afraid of heights, that's a given. Plus, they have to be okay with literally hanging off a rope above the city, and they do this in all kinds of weather. They're out there in the rain, cold, heat, and blazing sun. Not the most comfortable job, right? Every now and then they face unexpected weather quirks too. Those window cleaners were nearly swept away by the wind. It lifted their rig and held it aloft for a bit. The workers were fine, but I bet they were pretty scared. People who run away at the sight of a single bee will never get these folks. You've got to be truly passionate about what you do to become a pro beekeeper. Dealing with these insects isn't just about not being scared, you've got to have some serious experience under your belt. Bees are really sensitive to any wrong moves, so beekeepers need to know what's okay and what's not. Even with special protective suits, there's still a chance of getting stung. On top of that, they use pesticides in their work, which can be harmful to both bees and people. But if you do everything right, you can not only gain the trust of the insects, but also enjoy some delicious sweet honey. Rescuers are real heroes, risking themselves to save others from danger. When those who can't help themselves get into trouble, these guys come to the rescue, putting themselves at great risk. They have to be really careful about safety procedures because it's a matter of life for those waiting for help and for the rescuers themselves. Just look at the conditions they have to work in. But that's not even mentioning when they can't reach the scene by land. Then it's helicopters to the rescue.
RF's going out. Alright. Car is slow as skid.
Julian, how are you?
You good, man? Yep. It's all extended.
2.
There we go.
Alright, he's at the skid. About to hit the brake. He is. They're freezing forward. Alright, Chip, you can go help. Alright, we're getting him in slowly, but he's in.
Being a doctor is incredibly tough, everyone knows that. But being a doctor who works up in the air, that's even tougher. Just like regular ambulances, air ambulances are equipped for both transporting patients and providing urgent medical care to save lives. The main difference is that helicopters are used to move medical personnel. Sometimes they have to rappel down ropes, and occasionally they even have to evacuate patients this way to get them to the hospital. Even though I'm sure the air ambulance crews are used to all the ins and outs of their job, their bravery is still incredibly inspiring. Ever wondered how they take down those massive buildings? Well, picture this. They use excavators to carefully take them apart. But here's the kicker, those excavators are hanging in mid-air, way up high. A special machine designed to handle heavy loads hoists an excavator up to 100 meters high. From the ground, it's both amazing and kinda scary. But think about the people up in that cabin. The excavator's just hanging there, swaying back and forth. The golden rule for this job? Don't look down. Being in the Navy doesn't mean that you can skip land combat training. In Korea, sailors are taught a special technique using knives, which is adapted from traditional martial arts. Members of a special unit learn how to fight and defend themselves with cold weapons. These are risky drills they do all the time. And even though it looks really dangerous, trust me, they know what they're doing and handle it like pros. Remember that game everyone played when there was no internet? Well, some folks turned it into a job. Being a bomb disposal expert means dealing with dangerous explosives. You need to have top-notch technical skills and a keen eye for detail. And most importantly, you gotta know safety inside out, down to every little detail. It's not just about finding the bomb, it's making sure nobody gets hurt around it. It's crucial to carefully examine and disarm the bomb. Thankfully, these guys are real pros. Lots of people don't even realize that the bomb squad saved them from a possible tragedy. Being a loader operator at a steel mill is unexpectedly tough. These guys don't just move heavy loads around, they do it in harsh conditions. They're always close to the scorching waste from production. Constantly sweating in the heat and humidity from the insanely high slag temperatures, drivers have to carefully pick up the scraps and transport them, making sure they don't harm anyone during the move. Thank goodness those loaders get cooled down with water every now and then. Sulfur, commonly called devil's gold, is widely used, but can be harmful to humans. That's why in Indonesia, people have great respect for those who extract sulfur from volcanic craters. These workers endure grueling conditions to chip away pieces of the substance. In the crater, temperatures can reach up to 40 degrees Celsius. The air is also far from clean. It's filled with toxic fumes. Workers have to be very careful to protect their lungs. By the way, they carry the mined sulfur by hand. Each worker can carry up to 100 kilograms at a time. They say the pay isn't great, which seems really unfair when you see these scenes. These dudes are the ones who make action movie stars look awesome. When there's a super risky stunt on screen, it's always the stunt performer pulling it off. Some scenes are so technically demanding that an untrained person can't possibly do it. So, you've got these guys who practice flipping, jumping through flames, enduring heavy blows, and all sorts of crazy stuff. In Korea, there's a special forces unit that many soldiers dream of joining. The selection process is extremely tough, with only 10% making the cut. They have their own training grounds where they prepare for various missions against global threats. The training's so intense that soldiers end up being ready for anything, learning martial arts, running 5 kilometers a day, and enduring other strength and stamina exercises are all part of their routine. Yes, being in the Special Forces is really cool, but to become one of them, you need to not only be fearless, but also invest a huge amount of time and effort into training. If you ever had to sort fruits or vegetables by hand, you know that it's a long and tedious process. Add to that scorching sun and extremely pungent vapors that you're forced to inhale, and you'll understand what it feels like to do their job. These guys spend hours handling one of the hottest peppers in the world with their bare hands, and it's not as easy as it may seem. They have to work in the heat, and the compound the pepper releases when touched makes their eyes water. Just imagine if someone accidentally rubs some of it on their face.